You're listening to the main event with Zach Gelb and Mike Zahn on WHIP.
Welcome back, everybody. This is WHIP Radio in Philadelphia. You're listening to the main event. Zach Gelb here with you, taking you up until noon Eastern time, where the Temple Sports Hour comes your way. Time in the WHIP studios is 11:18. All right, let's go out to the hotline right now and welcome in a special guest who's joining us right now. He is the host of the Midnight SportsCenter, and that is the great Scott Van Pelt, who's kind enough to give us a few minutes right now. Scott, it's Zach Gelb here on Temple's campus. Thanks for a few minutes, and how are you?
Zach, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming on, and we appreciate you coming on. And a few weeks ago, College Game Day was in town, and ESPN was all over Temple University's campus as the Temple football team got ready to battle Notre Dame on Halloween night. And Kevin Nagandi, who's a Temple alum and always talks about the Owls, as you know, working at ESPN, was able to do a live Sports Center Saturday morning leading up to the big game at night. A few days ago, you were able to go back to your alma mater and host your live Sports Center between after the Georgetown, Maryland game. Just what was that experience like? Because that must have been something really special. I was watching it.
It was hard to describe how much it means. It was a dream come true, but to say that means I would have dreamed it. I never thought that was possible. And I'm sitting courtside watching the game, and then, to be honest, I'm thinking, oh God, Georgetown's going to win, and this is really going to be brutal. But as it turns out, the Terps rallied, and they won, and then it turned into kind of a party for an hour. But it's hard to find the words to explain what it means to go back to a place that is your home and a place that means so much to you, and to do what it is you now do. I never imagined that would even be possible, and then it happened. So I can relate to how much it meant to Kevin. Game day is a bigger deal. And look, Temple could have / should have won that game. They played so very well, but going home as and I don't want to say the conquering hero, but as a guy that the younger generation looks at and says, "Hey, I want to do that someday." It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to show people, "Hey, look, dream big because you never know what's possible."
I had a friend who actually went to that game from Temple. He's a big Maryland fan, has season tickets, even though he's a student here at Temple University. I know that's a bit tough to explain, but after the game, I actually went to your Wikipedia page. And I don't know how often or how closely you pay attention to your Wikipedia page, and someone actually edited to say this, quote, on November 17, 2015, SVP became the greatest man of all time when he came to College Park, Maryland, and hosted SportsCenter Live after his alma mater beat the Hoyas. He also gave everyone who asked a photo. Is that true? Because Wikipedia could sometimes be wrong.
I don't know about the greatest man ever. I think that's really a highly debatable thing. I believe I set a world record for most selfies taken in a 15-minute period. I tried to take, I figured the least I could try to do is take a shot with the folks who were kind enough to hang out. But again, it was memorable. It was special. It's a night I called it this privately. I'll share with you what I told my peers at work. I said that is the highlight of my professional life. I've had a chance to do some pretty amazing things and meet some pretty incredible people, but to go home and do that tops anything that I've ever done.
While we're on the topic of misinformed information, like your Wikipedia page saying how it's a debate about how you're the greatest man of all time, a lot of people say you're related to Bo Van Pelt, and that's not true. How many times do you get asked that on a daily basis?
Not a ton, because you kind of have to be a golf fan to be super well versed on everybody that's out there. Bo is a buddy of mine just because we share the last name, and people have asked me about him. There was a quarterback that played at Pitt back in the day that's been in the league for a long time, Alex Van Pelt. Bradley Van Pelt was a quarterback at Colorado State. Lucy and Linus from Peanuts, the comic strip, are Van Pelt. I'm related to none of them, so I'm just me.
Scott Van Pelt joins us right now. He's the host of Midnight SportsCenter, and this is a new part of your life, being the host of that Midnight SportsCenter. You used to do the radio show, which I love to watch and see through the radio and television. How do you enjoy this new role as the host of the Midnight SportsCenter?
It's been a lot of fun, just because they pretty much let us do what we want. It's basically what do you see as important games and stories of the day and present it however you want. There's room for some hijinks and nonsense. There's room for some serious kind of commentary, if you like, at the back end of the show. A segment I brought over, which you'd know, Zach, from radio, One Big Thing, which just is a couple of minutes worth of here's what I think about a topic. And it's really been well received, which has been really cool. People seem to like that it's just different, which was my goal, because SportsCenter became this show that's just kind of on all day. And I thought if we're going to be on all day, we should differentiate ourselves so that people grasp that this particular hour is different. So you may not like it better, but at least if you can't argue the fact that it's different, and that's by design. So I mean, it's only been a couple of months in, but I'm pleased that it feels somewhat familiar to me. I don't feel like I'm trying to do something I don't know what I'm doing. It's really comfortable, which is a pleasant surprise because I wasn't sure if it would be.
Those One Big Thing monologues, it's just really been a home run. I tune in almost every night when you're on and try to watch those because I really think they're great pieces of work that you do. And sometimes you have fun with them. Sometimes they're serious depending on the issue, like you did the one against Lamar Odom that I thought was just absolutely fantastic. But one that came recently was the Taco Fall piece. And to raise awareness to that, and it was nice to see that Taco finally is now able to play, although UCF is 0-2, was just a really neat story. How did you come about that story, and what do you think the NCAA could do to try to prevent these situations in the future?
Well, the story was one I had heard about just because he and a kid named Czech Diallo, who's at Kansas, another kid who, a talented basketball player with roots that go to Africa, have these issues as it relates to school. And Jeff Goodman, who covers college basketball for ESPN, I think he's as good as anybody on that beat. And there are a lot of good people, wrote this article for ESPN.com, and I read it, and I reached out to Jeff, and I said, this is awful. And he said, you wouldn't believe the letter this kid wrote the NCAA, and Jeff was kind enough to share it with me. And it was just this 4-page letter that was so eloquently written, and there was no animosity. It was just a kid that just wanted to say to the NCAA, look, I got these grades, and I want to be a student. He's an engineering student, and I'm aware, Zach, that there's plenty of high school basketball factories whose only job is to get kids eligible, and it's been many times it's kind of a sham. This kid, by all accounts, wasn't that, and so for lack of a more eloquent way to describe it, it pissed me off. So I thought, well, let's put this on the air, and whatever we can do to raise awareness, we'll do. And it wasn't me. There was a lot of people that were yelling about it, and the NCAA cleared him not long after, and now he's able to play. And I'm thrilled about that. But I understand the NCAA's need to be diligent and vigilant about making sure that grades aren't just, some magic act. It just seems that in particular, they say they're going to look at each case individually. And that's where it seemed like they were tone deaf here, because this was a kid who, again, had a 3.6 average and was an engineering student. He wasn't some guy that just was trying to go to the NBA in a year and somebody, pulled some grades out of a hat. He didn't get a bunch of online courses. So I don't know. They have a difficult job, but I think they make it more difficult on themselves sometimes because they don't handle things as efficiently as perhaps they could.
As someone that's in college right now, I would never even come remotely close to a 3.6 if I was an engineering major. That's why I'm trying to be a sports talk radio host. But one thing I will say that I think was very telling and really defines the person that Taco Fall is in another interview, he was asked a question, or maybe it was in the letter. They said, would you rather be Steve Jobs or LeBron James? And almost any college student that you asked that loves sports would have said LeBron James, and he said Steve Jobs. That was something that was very telling to me, Scott.
Yeah, I think from start to finish, we're talking about a guy that speaks languages, and chemistry, biology, all these advanced mathematic courses. I guess he has a brain like Steve Jobs. I can barely use my devices, much less design one. So I agree. Just the idea that his role models and people he aspires to be aren't necessarily just from the athletic world. Everything about the kid made me want to support him, and so I did, and I'm thrilled that it worked out the way it did for him.
You obviously have a purpose when you do the One Big Thing segments on ESPN. Is there one over the years that you say, hey, that was my favorite story with some end result that you saw a few weeks later?
I That's interesting. Not really. I mean, I'm not trying to. I don't see myself as some activist. I just talk about things that I find interesting. Sometimes they're silly. The last one I did on radio probably meant the most to me, just because it was trying to say thanks to the people that had been out there listening, and if there was a message, it was to people. I'd say to somebody like you that if you're lucky enough to get to a place where you enjoy what you do every day, to be present in your present and enjoy the moment as it's happening and not be so caught up in the idea of what's around the corner and what's next. I think we're bad at that. And I see people in my business that are bad at that, that are so hell-bent on becoming the next thing that they don't enjoy being the current thing. And I just enjoyed the hell out of that current thing, which went away with radio. And so I was able to try to say that, and that meant the most to me of all the ones that I've done, just because it was something that was going to be the last one that I did in that format.
Scott Van Pelt joins us right now, WHIP Radio in Philadelphia, all via iHeartRadio. Let's transition the conversation to the talk on the football field professionally here in town. You have a lot of Eagles fans that are agitated with Chip Kelly. And one of those one big things you did defend Chip Kelly, and you said, hey, maybe I'm right, maybe you're going to be wrong. So far this year, the Eagles sit at 4 wins. There's been a lot of questions of the moves that Chip has made, and in reality, they all do fall on him because now he is the GM and head coach. What's your assessment of Chip Kelly so far through the first 9 games of the season for the Eagles?
Well, I mean, his quarterback got hurt. One of his running backs got hurt, and they lost the game because the ball, bounced. They turned the ball over. I'm a Chip fan. I think he's a bright guy, and I think that what happened in this off season created this environment where folks just want to wait for something to go wrong so that they can point at him and say, gotcha, you stink, blah, blah, blah. I think they could still win the division. And if they don't, and Philadelphia thinks that they're supposed to get rid of him, then go find a better guy. People got tired of Andy after being there for too long, and you guys got so spoiled with success that success got boring to you. It's just the climate of the moment, I think, that where we want everything immediately. And are you an Eagle fan?
I'm not. I'm actually a Patriot fan, but just being here the last 4 years.
God,
and
you're insufferable. You must be insufferable with their season this year. Well, do you hear anybody that's an Eagle fan that's pro Chip Kelly? Because it seems the hardest thing in the world to do is to be, I don't want to use the word objective, but optimistic. It seems like it's just so easy. And I love Philly sports fans. I truly do, because they're so passionate. And there's a level of anger in them that I kind of share, so I get it. But I don't know. Do you hear anybody that's like, hey, relax, Chip's okay, we're going to be good, we're a little banged up, yada yada, or is everybody just pissed off and they want to get rid of him?
Well, this year in the offseason, they basically said at first it was like, oh my God, what is he doing? Especially when he got Bradford, and then when they got DeMarco Murray in there, everyone just stepped back off a little bit and said, okay, I see this team coming to fruition. And before the season, a lot of fans here in Philadelphia, it was one of the more positive things that I've been hearing about the Eagles, and they thought they had a legitimate chance to go to the Super Bowl. And then after a few weeks, everyone started jumping off the Chip ship, as they like to call it here. There's still a minuscule amount of people that will defend Chip Kelly. I'm one that really haven't liked his off-season approach throughout this whole thing, so I've been negative against Chip from the start. But I would say now the majority of the fans, if you listen to Sports Talk Radio today on the Fanatic or WIP or even here, they're calling for this guy to be out at the end of the season.
And see, that's my favorite thing that fans do now is okay, get rid of him. And my question is always this: who is it that you would like to go get? Give me the name of the person that's going to come in and make everything right. Bradford gets hurt, and then Sanchez comes in, and I mean, Bradford's looked pretty competent in some in certain instances. Look, I'm not trying to sell you, or not you because you're not an Eagle fan. I'm not trying to sell Eagle fans that this is some great situation and things are rolling around beautifully. The good news is that the East is brutal, and it's still very winnable. And if they get to the end of this season and people are tired of Chip's act, as they call it, he's smarter than everybody else, and they want to run him, then they're going to run him. I don't know who the obvious option is that's going to come in and right all of these wrongs. I don't know the answer to that question, but fortunately for Eagle fans and for football fans, we've got 6 weeks left of games, and things will sort themselves out. But I do, rambling on here, I do have a problem being objective when it comes to Chip because I think he's really good, and I think he proved that most of his career. I mean, he was 43-7 in college, and he was 20-12 his first 2 years in the NFL. I mean, it's not like he's some bum, but he gets described like he doesn't know anything, and I think that's just idiotic.
If you had to pick who would win this NFC East, I know you're a Redskins fan, but you have to be unbiased here. Who would you pick to win the NFC East? I know it's a tough question.
I don't have to be anything. I'm a guest on your radio show. I can do whatever the hell I want.
It's a great point.
But I'm not going to pick the Redskins. I don't think they're that good. I think the Cowboys would have won it going away if they had health at quarterback, but they don't. I think the Giants could be about 3 games better if they managed the last 2 minutes later. I guess maybe the Giants. I don't have their schedules in front of me, who plays who where, but I think it's either the Giants or the Eagles. I think it kind of feels coin flippy to me. Just somebody will get hot, and I don't know, Giants, that stab in the dark. But I mean, it's just all I'm doing is shrugging and guessing.
Last one here before we let Scott Van Pelt run. I just want to talk a little bit of golf with you. The Ryder Cup assistant captains came out yesterday. Tiger Woods was one of them, and he said he wants to play on that team. He's obviously suffering the injuries right now, and expectations are that he'll return in early 2016. This is maybe one of the biggest fall of graces that I've seen in my 21 years of living, because I grew up and all it was Tiger Woods winning, and I was such a big Tiger fan, and I still am, and I want to see him win another major again. But as it continues to go on, I question if he'll win another major again. When Tiger returns, I know it's a big unknown, but what are your expectations for him when he comes back?
It's the only thing that anyone could possibly say. I was able to see him at his peak. I mean, that was really when my career in the business started, and I changed the way we perceive the game. I mean, he was odds on in golf tournaments, which is a joke. I mean, no one's ever been those short of odds. But now the odds seem stacked against him because it's not 40 is not the issue. He's going to be 40 in December. The age isn't the issue. It's just how much wears on the tire, All these surgeries leave us totally unsure of what he's capable of and if he's able to stand up to the rigors of playing. I root for him because I root for stories and I root for the sport. So I'm hopeful that he's good again, but it seems pretty obvious to anybody who's been paying attention that the days of him being what he was are gone. Can he become a guy that was a power pitcher that figures out how to get you out now just with kind of, he's got guile and guts and he throws 85 on the outside and he kind of gets you to hit some ground balls to the second baseman? Yeah, maybe he could figure that out. But the days of him throwing at 100 miles an hour by you appear to be gone, and that's a bummer because it was a blast to watch when he was great.
SVP, I agree. Thanks so much for coming on today. We appreciate it. You're the best.
Anytime. Thank you so much.